Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, coming to you live on this Shabbat. And we're going to do some Shabbat reasoning, Shabbat studies tonight. So we have to give thanks for the Shabbat. It's a set apart day, the seventh of the week, the day of rest, then an anniversary of creation. So we start by saying, we give thanks to Yah for a Shabbat of rest, a day like no other, the brightest and best, transmitted from Sinai in language sublime. 6 days shall thou labor, the earth is mine. So we give thanks. Well, we're going to start and where we are in history. Okay, in the book of Chazan, it states at verse, and there came angel, which are the seven vials, and talk with me, saying unto me, come hither, I will show unto the great whore that sit up upon many waters. The whore here in scripture represent the false assembly, okay? And the waters, mahim in Hebrew text, symbolizes people. So this whore is sitting upon many waters. So this false assembly is sitting upon the people, ruling over the people. Verse 2, the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made. It's corrupting, it has corrupting the earth. Verse 3, so he carried me away, Ruach, in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names. The scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Historically, we know this is speaking of the Roman Catholic Church. How do we know that? Because the bishop and she have 7 heads and 10. Why 7 heads? Okay, of when Rome was dismantled in 476 at common earth continent. Verse 4 of Revelation 17. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abomination and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babel, or Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abomination. So I say this false religion is a very evil demon, and with the martyrs of Yahushua. And when I saw her, I wondered and killed the true followers, the true worshippers of Yahweh. Verse 7, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carried her, which had the 7 heads and the 10 horns. The beast, though, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not, which the woman sitteth. Like I said earlier, the 7 heads represent the 7 mountains, which Rome is for the 7 hills of Rome. This is where the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and the one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must come a short space. Let's read that again. Revelation 17, verse 10. It's, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and space. So what this is in history, the world has been promised to see, because each king represents an empire. So 7 kings, meaning we'll only see 7 empires. Now, notice what he says here. When the scripture was written, it was written by Yohanan or John while he was on the Isle of Patmos. Okay, and for those who don't know, let me explain what this is. John or Yohanan, the beloved disciple of Yahushua, the Messiah. The Romans, historians tell us, the Romans, they tried many ways to get rid of him. They even cast him one time into a cauldron of boiling oil, and he survived. They did all kind of stuff for him, but you know what? They could have killed him because his time was not yet. So what the Romans did, they exiled him onto an island in the Mediterranean called the Isle of Patmos. So while he was there, living out his days, in about 97 or so of the Common Era, he wrote the book of revelation when he was inspired by the Messiah. While he was writing, the Roman Empire was in power. So look what he's saying here. At his time, he was saying there 5 kings have already fallen. So they were fallen. Let's look at the 5 that were fallen before. The Egyptian Empire was the first one. They were replaced by the Assyrians. The Assyrians were replaced by the Babylonians. The Babylonians were replaced by the Medes and Persians. The Medes and Persians were replaced by Greeks. The Greeks were replaced by the Romans. So while he was writing this, Rome was in power. So that's why I said 5 have fallen. One is Rome was, he said, and one is yet to come. So one more empire is left to come. And right now we are witnessing the revive of that 7th and final empire. Let's continue. Verse 11, and the beast that was, and is not, even he is the 8th, and of the 7th, and is going to rule during the 7th or the revived Roman Empire. Verse 12, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. What are we talking about here? These 10 kingdoms, there is very simple. Rome came into power in the 2nd century BC, okay? And they ruled until about the year 476 at the Common Era or AD, when they were dismantled. They did not finally, it wasn't destroyed or went extinct. It just lay dormant for a while, the Roman Empire in 476. So when it was dismantled, it broke up into 10 nations, okay? And one of those nations we're going to look at is Britannica, or Britannia, later on known as Britain. And it's from Britain that the United States of America was born. We're going to come back to that later. Verse 14, there shall make a king of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and trustworthy. And he said unto me, the water which thou sawest where the war sitteth are peoples, just like I said earlier, and the multitudes and nations, and which thou sawest upon the beast, ye shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For Elohim had put in the heart to fulfill his will and to agree, and gave their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of Elohim shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is the great city, which reigned over the kings of the whole earth. What great city was that? The Vatican, Rome. Okay? So there we have it in the scripture. The Roman Empire, during the time of Yochanan or John, was in power. They were the 6th king. Okay? But they led for a while. It went dormant in 476. But it's going to be revived. As we can see right now, we're witnessing a revived Roman Empire. Okay? And it's not hard to see. How is it being revived? Well, Britannia, or Britain, okay? We know this history. The first of Africa, they came from Britain. And when they came from Britain, they came to this land. And when they came to this land, they set up what they call a republic. And it was born in 1776, July 1770, okay? And until this day, America still have the attributes of Rome. The courts, for example, the American courts, they use Roman terminology and Roman cliche and Roman laws. Habeas corpus that you hear in courts today, which means produce the body. That is Latin. That's a Roman military term. Corpus delicti, that is, body evidence. That's Latin, and so on and so forth. Desus tecum. So they use a lot of Roman language still today in our culture. Why? Because Rome was never ever eliminated. It was just dismantled. So we are witnessing a revived Roman Empire in these last days, and this empire is going to be strong. And the only one that's going to destroy it is the Most High that we see in the book of Daniel, when that big stone came from the heavens and smashed up the feet of that statue and that 10 toes that represents the revived Roman Empire. Praise the Lord. Praise his name.
I gotta go to it, then of course we gotta go to them times. So I try to go prepare and get some food ready, try to prepare, get everything ready. Guys. Some of the things are going on right now, but I said of course we only, I mean, because we got, I just because and of course the most I will get a chance to make and everything out there. So, and of
Praise
course
his name.
I'm still gonna hold on to the creator. Yes. Then of course I mean that's I really I really get to the fight to defeat the world or something like that. So that's nice everything else. But I was I just went back and everything out there. And just made it back home. I got a chance to be a part of fellowship everything out there. I'm at this so because for the Sabbath out there because I was telling one girl today, and of course that today tomorrow is a Sabbath day, so I started to get that to go to sleep and I feel that each month rest of course afterlife. The one I was reached them to have to be able to meditate on what's going on, take the information that we received, we continue going on from there to get this on.
All right.
Yeah, that's the most died.
Praise his name. All right, hallelujah. So the key what we are talking about here, because many people don't understand the scripture, Revelation 7:10. This is the key. And there are 7 kings, okay? 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet to come. So to recap, very simple. When John or Yochanan was writing this on the Isle of Patmos, this was the 1st century of the Common Era, AD. While he was writing this, he said 5 kings or five kingdoms had fallen before while he was there speaking. And remember, we named the 5, the Egyptians, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Medes and Persians, and the Greek. 5 have fallen, past tense. And then he said 1 is, meaning at his time there was 1 present. The one that was present at the time was the Roman Empire. And then he said, and the other is not yet come. So those were 6, the 5 fallen before him, the 1 that was during his time, and then he said, other 1 is yet to come. So the world will see only 7 empires before the Messiah's second coming. This is interesting because, like I said, 5 has fallen, 1 is at the time of Yochanan, and then 1 is yet to come. So while he was speaking, after Rome was dismantled, that was the 6th one, there's going to be 1 more empire before Messiah return. And we are witnessing the revival of a Roman Empire right now. Rome is being revived. We are seeing it. Their laws are being in place again. And the monetary system, the European unity is coming together, the 10 toes of the statue of Daniel. Rome is being revived as we speak. It never died. It just went dormant, meaning it just lay still for a while. It went back to life. And we're witnessing it right now. And this beast, the 8th beast, will be a part of 7, meaning when the 7th Roman Empire is revived, there's going to be a leader that's going to come on the scene. He's going to be so evil. He will be called a beast. Okay, and he's going to be a part of the 7th. And he will start to persecute the believers. But, praise be to Abba Yahweh, we will overcome. We will overcome.
Make it through.
We'll make it through.
We'll survive it.
Yeah, look, the connection is unstable again.
Yeah, so of course, I kind of goes to work too.
Yeah, keep
involved with the most demons had to distract us and he was in condemnation so we can focus on this one. They do. They said no times then for us definitely then of course you're able to destroy the demons, nothing about this. Yeah. Shalom, peace, family.
All right, so Yahweh prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and tried and true, with thanksgiving, and I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Yahweh prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and set apart, and I'll be a living sanctuary for you. One more time.
Yes,
Yahweh prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and set apart, and tried and true, with thanksgiving, and I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Abba, Yah, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and set apart, and tried and true with a thanksgiving. And I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Praise his name. So we're going to close this part. Like I said, so Revelation 17, verse 10, tell us that there will be 7 empires. 6 has already been accomplished. A 7th one is being revived as we speak. And then the Messiah is going to destroy the 7th one. And then the kingdom of Yah will be established upon the earth. All right, praise his name. So another thing we're going to talk about tonight is Aramaic translations and correction in the scriptures. A lot of the scriptures have a lot of errors in it, and especially the Brit Hadashah, or the New Testament, or the Renewed Covenant, the New Testament. And from an Aramaic perspective, we're going to share some of the correction and shed some light on some of the mistranslation that's found throughout the Brit Hadashah, or the New Testament. I spoke Aramaic. Aramaic was his language. It was his language on the tree, the cross, so to speak. And the originally written in Aramaic. So a lot of people were saying stuff like the original Greek. That is not correct. And we're going to show proof of an original Aramaic text. Okay? You have anything in the meantime? Aramaic was his language. Okay? And it was the language that he issued ever since he was growing up. The Israelite at that time could not speak anything but Aramaic. So that's why Aramaic was their language, and they could not speak anything else but Aramaic. Aramaic was the lingua franca. Hello? We have a study live. So Aramaic was the language. So we're going to look at some of the mistranslation. We're going to look, for example, at Matthew, and bury my father. But Yahushua said unto him, follow me and let the dead bury their dead. That's interesting because a lot of people have that confused. You know, like the dead bury their dead. So what they try to do, they try to say the spiritual dead bury the physical dead. That doesn't make any sense. So what was going on right here, the original Aramaic, what was written there, the translators, they messed up with 2 words, met and meta. Okay, met, which means dead, and meta, which means town. So what Yahushua was saying there, and the proper translation of Matthew 8:21 is supposed to say, you come and follow me, and that is the one who takes care of the dead. So Messiah was saying to the young man, you leave the town to take care of the dead, and you come and follow me. So what they did, they mixed up met and meta. You know, and they're very close, right? Because the only difference is the at the sound met. Another mistranslation to is Matthew 10, verse 14. The Greek of the King James translation said, and whosoever shall not receive you, nor hear your words, when you depart out of the house or the city, shake off the dust off your feet. Now, what does that mean? This here was an Aramaic idiom, and this Aramaic idiom means if they do not want to listen to you or listen to the good news that you proclaim, have nothing to do with them. Okay, leave them alone. That's an Aramaic idiom. Also, Mark 14:22, the King James said, and as they did eat, Yahushua took bread and blessed and broke it and gave to them, and they eat. And he said, take, this is my body. Okay, what he was doing here, this is my body, he was literally using an Aramaic idiom that's confused and mistranslated by Western mind. Okay. When they taught these words, this was a new mysterious doctrine that Messiah was introducing when he said, this is my body. Okay, he was not saying it literally, but it was an idiom that are badly confused. That in other words, this idiom in that culture means be a part of me. And the reason why this is interesting, because I've heard people read this scripture and they say, what kind of cannibalism is this? Or can somebody telling you to eat his body? But Luke 23:43 the Greek of the King James said, and Doshal Eden is a Persian word that means a beautiful garden, a place of harmony and tranquility. An earthly dwelling place refers to the earthly kingdom. So you will be in paradise, meaning you, in other words, you saved, you'll be delivered.
You'll be saved and delivered.
You'll be saved and be delivered. Aramaic. And for those who don't understand, why Aramaic? So when you hear scholars and when you hear some pastors saying the original Greek text, there's no such thing as an original Greek text. It was an original Aramaic text. As a matter of fact, when Messiah was crucified, what happened? They had 3 writings above his head, because that was the custom of the Romans at the time. Whenever they execute somebody, they'll write above them on a placard whatever the accused crime that person was executed for. In Yahushua's case, what they wrote on his head, they wrote in 3 languages. They wrote in Latin, which was the official language of the Roman Empire, so they have to write it in Latin. They wrote it in Greek. Why? Because Greek was the universal language of commerce. And then they have to write in the lingua franca, or the language of the common people, which was Aramaic. So that's why on top of his head was written, Yahushua Natsimal Chat de Yahuda He, not Hebrew, as many people think, because if it was Hebrew, they would have write Yahushua Natseret Melech HaYahudim, Yahushua Natseret Melech HaYahudim. But that's not what was written. Scholars have shown to that they wrote Yahushua Natsimal Chat de Yahuda He, which is Aramaic. So there's evidence of an original Aramaic text, not a Greek. Another reason why, if I want to understand this, is this. The Israelites spoke Hebrew before Babylon. When they went into Babylon in 586, when Nebuchadnezzar took them away into captivity, Babylonian language originally was Aramaic. So when they went into Babylon, the Hebrew generation, the older folks, died out. So the younger children who grew up in Babylon, they learned the language of their captives. Just like here, when the people, when the Israelites brought here from Africa, and they brought here, they grew up and they learned the language of their capture. In this case, English. If it's in Haiti, it's French. If it's in Spanish, they stop speaking Hebrew and they start to speak Aramaic. Okay. Proof of this also is found in the book of Nehemiah chapter 8. What happened when they came back from Babylon, and they start coming back in about 536, somewhere around there. And when they started to come back, what Ezra the priest did, he started to reestablish the reading of the Torah. So what happened in Nehemiah 8, Ezra read the Torah in Hebrew, and then the Levites had to translate so that the people could understand. And the Levites had to translate. Why they had to translate? To translate it back from Hebrew to around from the 5th century, 4th century, come back all the way to the 1st century. That's why when we came down to the time of the Messiah, Aramaic was the language of the people of Israel. And evidence of Aramaic is all over in the Brit Chadashah, or the New Testament. For example, when Yahushua healed the blind man, he said, Ephata, that's Aramaic. Lazarus, Elazar, Kumebo, Elazar, I say, come forth. He was Aramaic. When he raised Jairus' daughter, he said, Talita Kumi, damsel, a young girl, I send to your eyes. And in Matthew 27:46, while he was dying on the execution stake, he said, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. My Eloi, for this was I kept, not forsaken. And right through we see place like Golgotha, which means the place of the skull, that's Aramaic. A lot of the people's name was Aramaic, like Bar Abba, that means son of the father, and so on and so forth. So Aramaic was the lingua franca. The Kabbalist manuscript, which we are translating from, is the oldest known copy of the New Testament that exists today. As a matter of fact, it was found several decades ago, and it was traced back to like the 3rd century at the Common Era, older than any Greek manuscript. This was such a brilliant discovery that the United States Congress of Library, they purchased a copy of it, and they have the Aramaic Kabbalist, oldest known version of the New Testament. And well, when we go through it, we find a lot of mistranslations from the Aramaic text that is translated over into the Greek, Latin, and English. Okay, totally different. For example, in Matthew 27:46, it said, and Yahushua cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. Now, they left the phonetic sound for a reason, because they were not sure. So what happened, the scholars translated it as, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Okay, that's what they thought he was saying. But that's not what he was saying, because the Father cannot forsake his Son, because the night before his crucifixion, he turned to his disciples and he said to them, you will all forsake me and flee, but the Father will always be with me. So who could he say that in the night before, and then the next day he's saying, why hast thou forsaken me? It doesn't make sense. What happened here is, once again, it's serious mistranslation. For example, Eli, Eli, or Eloi, Eloi, that could be both Hebrew or Aramaic. Lama, Lama, okay? Lama, Shabachtan. The word Shabachtan is an Aramaic word that means kept or preserved. And the suffix yod, or the I at the end, is a personal pronoun. So Shabachtan means kept me or preserved me. So what the Messiah was saying, Eli, Eli, or Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, in Matthew 27:46, he was saying, my Eloah, for this was I kept. Lama in Aramaic is for. Shabachtan means kept or preserved, and the Shabachthani means kept me. So he was saying, my Eloah, for this was I kept. In other words, this was my destiny. So when the Psalms 22 in the Hebrew, in Psalms 22, David was saying, David was quoting our King David, and he was saying, Eli, Eli, lama hozaptani. Hozaptani means kept me. Okay, but that's not what the Messiah said. He said, Shabachthani means preserve me. Okay, Hozaptani means forsake me, and Shabachthani means kept me. So he was saying to the people, he was crying out and said, for this was I kept. In other words, he was saying it's his testament. Okay, praise. Are some of the mistranslation from Aramaic into the Greek, Latin, English translations. They are not what they translate them to be. And so on and so forth. When Messiah spoke, he spoke in Aramaic, and Aramaic have its idioms, and these idioms, what is an idiom? An idiom is something that is a wise saying that is familiar to the local, and it can be confusing or difficult for a foreigner. So Aramaic, when he spoke the Aramaic, the people of his time know what he was saying, but an outsider might get a little bit confused. Okay, so when he speak in Aramaic, and let me see another one. And there's a lot of them. We have a lot of them. I won't go through all of them tonight. But yeah, he never said, why hast thou forsaken me? He was saying, for this was I kept. Because the Messiah cannot be forsaken by his Father. Why? Because the Father sent him to do his will, and the Messiah does the will of the Father. I've heard pastors who are ignorant of Aramaic and the idioms. They have to say something when they read it. So what they do, to their best of their ability, they say, well, the Father reject him because when they look upon him and see sin. That's a beautiful sin, but that's not what that means. The words actually have meanings when he said them. Ozaptane, Shabachthani. Shabachthani means kept me. So he was just saying to them, why hast thou kept me? Now, what's interesting about this, you look at it in Matthew 27:46. If you look right under it, read on some more, it was the people say he was calling for Elijah. Now, why would they say Yahushua was calling for Elijah? Because he was dying, he was being crucified, he was losing breath, and he was said, the word Elijah does not exist in Hebrew. It is Eliah, and some people say Eliyahu. So when you're saying Eliah, it sounds like Eliah. When he said Eli, Lama Shabachthani, Eli, it sounds like he's saying Eliah. So that's why the people saying he's calling for Eliah. Okay, he's calling for Eliah. But when they say Elijah in English, it kind of threw off the whole entire meaning because there was no J. J letter is not even 500 years yet. So you couldn't be saying, they couldn't be saying he's calling for Elijah because there was no J. They were saying he's calling for Eliah. Because think about the usage sense. If he's dying and he said, Eli, Eli, Lama Shabbatani, Eli, Eli. Eli sound like he's saying Eliah, Eliah. That's how you say Elijah in Hebrew, Eliah. So when he's saying Eli, Eli, that's why under Matthew 27:46 down, the people are saying he's calling for Eliah, he's calling for Elijah, because he was saying Eli, Eli, Lama Shabbatani. If he was saying, why hast thou forsaken me in Aramaic, which many people thought he was saying, he would have said Eli, Eli, lemana nashatani. Eli, Eli, lemana nashatani. Eli, Eli, my Elawa, nashat, lemana in Aramaic means why. He would have said Eli, Eli, lemana, why? Nashatane, the word nashatan means forsake or reject. And the suffix yod at the end, nashatane, he would have said Eli, Eli, len.
That means, why did that person forsaken me?
Eli, Eli, le mana nashatane. He would have said, my father, my strength, my Eloah, why have you forsaken me? He didn't say that. He said, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. And there's a reason why the translators left it untranslated, because they want the reader to hear the phonetic. Okay, he spoke Aramaic, so there's no such thing as an original Greek. As a matter of fact, there are terminology in the Hebrew scriptures and the Aramaic scriptures that cannot be translated to do justice in any language. Like we said before, in Genesis 1, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. The word et right there, aleph and ta, cannot be translated to English, so that is left out. Okay, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Okay, so when they say in the beginning Elohim created, the et cannot be translated. So this is just an example with some words in Hebrew and Aramaic. There's no equivalent in English. Okay, so praise his name. So anyway, we're going to close off now for the night. It's getting late. And anything else to say, Brother Mike?
That was interesting. I mean, I'm still trying to understand the whole Aramaic thing. I'm kind of new to the language, so I was trying to catch it on something they said. I question follow along, and I said, I question at the same time. But that was kind of difficult for me to understand and stuff like this. When you guys said this, I'm on I said I was trying to feel like I was in a way. I was saying that up there, but it's a nice language.
All right, anyway, we'll come back later. If we're not sleeping, probably do some more study, the Shabbat. So let's sign off for now. So, all right, signing off now. Shalom.
Shalom, Eliah.